All right, welcome to On the Mic. I'm Jake Killeen. On today's episode, we welcome Scott Hend. Scott Hend is an Aussie tour player that's played 24 years as a tour professional on several tours, mainly over in Asia and the European tours these days. He's one of the all-time greats on the Asian tour with 10 victories, which sits him third all-time. He is a second on the Asian money list all-time as well with money earned. He's the 2016 Order of Merit winner on the Asian tour and has claimed 3 European Tour titles in the last 6 years. So what a career so far, and he's still going strong. Thanks for joining me, Scott. I appreciate you being with me, mate. All the way from Florida, which I find a very interesting thing. You set yourself up in Florida with your family, and you're basically most of the year playing Asian on the European Tour. So why have you set yourself up that way?
Well, back in 2004, I played on the PGA Tour. And I was in 2005 on the PGA Tour, so we moved here in 04, decided to buy a house. There's no reason to move out of here. We've got a green card, just been here for ages. The kids go to school here. They've been here since, well, my wife went back to Australia, had the kids in Australia, and then she came back here with the kids because we wanted two more Australians in the family. Yeah. And we're just here. We're just comfortable being here, and the tax rate's much better, and just things in that respect are better. The way you can do your tax deductions and stuff like that. And traveling to Europe from here is not very far at all.
Yeah, fair enough. And because now you've got a lot more European tour status, haven't you? So you're not so full time in Asia, which we'll get to later. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And you're in Florida. So what sort of golf course are you a member somewhere locally there and play and practice?
I've had Corn Ferry Tour status for a fair while, but I've never played through FedEx Cup points, which enabled me to practice at TPC Sawgrass. So when I haven't had status, I've been fortunate enough that guys like Vijay Singh or Billy Horschel or one of the other senior guys has let me be their guest to come and practice there. So they're very good there. The practice facilities are second to none. So I'm quite lucky to be able to hit balls there.
Yeah, and obviously you're used to traveling over that many years to Asia and Europe. Does it affect you in terms of your schedule compared to the other guys on tour, or have you just used to it now, the travel?
I'm just used to it. I mean, my caddy, Tony Carrollin, lives on the Sunshine Coast, so he travels from Australia out to Europe. So when we do meet up, he's he's very jet lagged, obviously, because it's a lot further to go. And then guys like Wade Ormsby and that, Wade's traveling from South Australia. I see how wrecked he looks sometimes when he shows up, and I sort of feel, well, the 5-hour time difference from here to the UK seems like nothing compared to what you guys have to go through from Australia for traveling to Europe.
And what's the new sort of, with this COVID and the new travel restrictions, how's it affecting you sort of place back into the tour and your travel? What do you have to do to sort of get yourself back from the US to Asia and Europe now?
Well, the travel restrictions aren't as bad as what Australia is. I mean, I heard you still can't travel state to state, and then you got to do a 2-week quarantine when you come back to Australia, and then leaving Australia, you need to get permission to leave Australia. From here, I can fly straight to anywhere in Europe, UK. Europe at the moment, you've got to do for us to go play golf, we have to do the PCR test, I think they call it, where they do the shove it up your nose, see if you got the virus, negative, positive. Within 96 hours of landing, you've got to have that results with you to be let into Europe. Same for the UK. And then when we go to play the tournament on the 29th of June, we find out whether we have to do a 14-day quarantine before the tournaments, or we can do the 14-day quarantine at the tournaments. That decision will come out 29th of June.
Okay, right. And when you come back to the US, you don't have to quarantine, or do you have to quarantine when you come back in?
I'm hoping by the time I come back, I won't have to worry about that, because I'm intending to be probably on the road for 2.5-3 months. So hopefully by then, I mean, it's either going to be worse or it's going to be better.
Sure.
And so be it. At the moment, even when we came back from Asia the other day, we flew into Atlanta. We went Bangkok to Korea to Atlanta, and we drove home. And we just came home and stayed in the house for 14 days anyway. We weren't told to do anything, but we just thought it was our duty for the community to stay at home and just isolate anyway.
Yeah, well, I suppose you just have to make it up on the run, aren't you? A lot of people are doing that, so we'll see how it all pans out, but I'm sure you're ready to get back into it.
Yeah, I started practicing on Monday, and oh goodness me, that was interesting. I don't think I've hit. I was aiming at a target about 148 meters away, and I'm pretty sure that my 8-iron hasn't come out 20 meters short of a target that often. I kept hitting it fat, just getting steep on it. It's just. I mean, I've been working out, I've been exercising, I've been doing
Yeah.
TheraBands and stuff, but the timing and swinging of the golf club is, well, it's sort of interesting.
How long does it normally take you to get back into the feel of things and the swing of things?
Well, I was saying to a few people I know, this is the longest. I mean, I went from March 6, 60, I think it was 61 days. I didn't even swing a golf club. That's the longest in 28 years of not even swinging a golf club. So,
Yeah.
but normally when I come home, I have, if I've got 2 weeks off, I come back to Florida. I don't go to the golf course for a week and a half. And then when I go back for the next 3 days to try and warm up before I go to Europe, I find it difficult. This time I've actually found it easier than the short break. I don't understand why I'm starting to, it feels like the swing's coming back quicker than having a short break.
Interesting, isn't it? There might be something in that, but your mind's probably fresh and you don't have bad shots, bad things in your head maybe that you had previous. So maybe it's just a full-on fresh mind and fresh body and you're ready to go.
I think it might be more of a point of not sitting on the couch of having 1.5 liters of ice cream a day and a packet of salt vinegar chips and a few Cokes watching NASCAR. It's probably more the point.
So do you feel after a big couple of weeks, you feel like you just reward yourself with a bit of food and a bit of NASCAR?
Well, I certainly did come home and smash the barbecue. We probably have 8 days out of 7 on the barbecue, and smash down at least 2 bottles of red wine or a couple bottles of white wine every night when I come home. And I sort of said, okay, I've done that already over this quarantine period, over this isolation period. I've drank way too much wine, so now I've just had to pull on the reins really hard.
Yeah, nice one, mate. It's funny. Get the old barbecue, yeah, it's awesome. What do you like in the barbecue? A couple of sausages, bit of steak.
It's always going to be steak, mate.
Yeah. How do you like it? Cooked?
I like it. Well, my wife always blows up because I like a little bit of on the bone when ribeye on the bone. I like a bit of blackness on the edge of the bone. I like a bit of a crispy bit on the bone. Same as when I have my lamb. If I cook lamb on the barbecue, lamb chops, I like the fatty bit to be crunchy.
Yeah, nice. And you're a bit of a wine connoisseur too, I see, on Twitter.
Well, mate, there's so much negativity. I mean, I fell into the trap in the last few weeks of commenting on politics and stuff like that. And then I went, let's get back to the fun stuff. Golf clubs and wine and golf clubs. And cars.
NASCAR, eh?
NASCAR, old classic cars. I've got a couple of classic cars, just get back to stuff. People don't want to read a professional sportsman's Twitter feed and see all negativity and all my problems that I'm worried about. They want to see something that takes them away from the general everyday boredom that they have to do in their 8 to 5 jobs, or if they're sitting at home bored out of their head. It's an entertainment avenue, I see it as.
Do you feel that as a responsibility, or you've just seen that on the way people comment back and just the overall feel of what you sort of topics you touch on?
I'm not really worried about what people's comments are because that's Twitter. Anyone can say anything at any time, so it doesn't matter. But I just think that the people that follow me deserve a little bit of entertainment value.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I really encourage people to join your Twitter. I love watching you, and I mean, it's refreshing to get someone's true opinion, and you're not afraid of it, and on any topic. So I enjoy it. So keep it real, mate. I love it. Congratulations thus far on your career. 23 years, 10 Asian Tour victories, which is 3 all-time on the list. 2nd all-time Asian money list. You've claimed 3 European Tour titles, which have come a little bit later in your career. A little bit like the wine, mate. The years pass, gets a bit finer. So the question is,
the cork doesn't go off.
That's right. There's nothing worse, is there? Popping an old wine and the corks in there.
It happened at Christmas time with the brother-in-law in Australia. I got into the wine fridge. I said, I got 3 bottles here. They're awesome. I went bang, bang, They're all done, poured down the sink. I said, it's all right, I got 3 more in the back. So we had to go back into the reserves. But it's shattering. Sorry, but back onto the subject.
No. Well, no. On that subject, my nana gave me a port when I was born, and I recently opened it. I'm 35 now, so as I was opening it, the cork just shattered and went into the port. So here I am with
the bottom half of the cork or the whole cork?
Nah, the bottom half.
Oh, you should be okay. Just got to get the tea strainer out. Just strain it out.
Yeah, had the strainer out. And I tell you what, gee, it was worth the wait. That was an amazing port. But I know what you're like. So yeah, back to it. So your story starts as a pro back in 1997. You spent about, I think, 6 years on the Aussie tour, winning the Order of Merit in 2003. So where did you grow up in
the Von Nider, the Von Nider tour? Yeah.
The Von Nider tour at that time. And so where did you grow up in Australia and first find the game?
Oh, geez, mate. When you talk about grow up, so I'll just quickly go through it. I was born in Townsville. We moved to Darwin. Went from Darwin to Raymond Terrace, which is near Newcastle. We went from there to Melbourne. From Melbourne to the Northern Territory. From the Northern Territory in Katherine, back to Wagga Wagga. Oh, damn! I've lived in Melbourne twice. I've lived in Wagga Wagga, Raymond Terrace. I lived in born in Townsville, lived in Northern Territory twice, and then back in Brisbane. So it was. My dad was in the Air Force. I was very lucky.
Right. So that was the idea of the moving. So how did you find so golf was just something that came from every town. You were able to find a golf course and just keep practicing.
I was quite lucky because most of the RAF bases had 9-hole golf courses.
Oh yeah.
So I played on some absolute golf courses that people wouldn't even want to hit golf balls in practice. I always find it interesting when this big privilege thing that people are saying right now. You're so privileged because you do that. I said, well, if you look at my life, I came from a military background. I played on golf courses which most people wouldn't even look sideways at when they're driving down the freeway. There's no privilege in my family. I mean, the only privilege I had was I was actually able to get out with a second-hand set of golf clubs that was a mix and match set, and then spend all my time to practice. So that was the only privilege that I had. And, that's what I see when I see a lot of guys. When I lived in Melbourne and I was playing golf at the RAF base at Laverton, and we had Richard Green and Stuart Appleby and Robert Allenby, and all these guys were just absolutely killing it on the Ivo Whitten events down in Melbourne. I was playing this golf course, which, like I said, these guys wouldn't even look at it when they drove past it. And I all thought, well, these guys are playing at the upper echelons of the courses. And I felt a little bit intimidated. It was a little bit daunting when I went to try and tee it up at an Ivo Whitten event. But, I think it was all for the better. Coming from the golf courses that weren't famous and were the so-called really blue-collar golf courses, to me, it feels like I've actually got something out of it.
Yeah, and what do you think you mostly got out of it? Was it just the grind of it? Obviously
the course. Bad lies, mate. Bad lies, yeah. bad grass, bad greens, small greens, courses that were looked after by people volunteering to mow the fairways and the greens and stuff like that. I wouldn't say doing it tough, but not playing on golf courses that were perfectly manicured.
When did you find that you could compete? So what age and so where did you find, okay, well, I feel like my game's getting to the point where I can turn pro? Where did you find that? Where was that?
When I was living in Melbourne, when I moved back to Melbourne for the second time, my dad we went for a trip back up to Wagga Wagga. So we drove up over the border, up to Wagga Wagga to play a Pro-Am. And Neil Carey, the New South Welshman, he's a golf pro. I don't know if you've heard of Neil Carey, but I
haven't.
Maybe retired now. And I was 17 at the time, and I went and played the Pro-Am, and I thought I was not too bad a player. I'd won club championship, junior championships, and B grades and whatever, and played the Pro-Am. And I turned to my dad. I said, "This is what I want to do. I want to become a golf pro." Because we stayed in the sergeant's mess in Wagga in the RAF base, and my dad was having a few beers, a couple of golf pros around, just having a chat, and here I am, just a young kid, looking at all that stuff, and I thought, well, this would be pretty awesome, wouldn't it? So
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to do.
And did you look up to any players at the time, any professional players, or did you just feel like you loved the game and that's what I want to do as a career?
Well, I'll say Wagga Wagga again, because that's where I went from playing a lot of cricket and really started to focus on golf. And when I was going to St Michael's School in Wagga Wagga, the boys' school there, every morning my mum would drop me off and I would walk to school, and I'd walk past the news agency. And then if there was a new Australian Golf Digest out or a golf magazine out, I'd always use my pocket money to buy the golf magazine. I'd read it all the time, and I saw like Woosnam, Langer, Faldo, Norman, and I'd always read the articles and a lot of stuff in there about that. So it was, obviously the Shark was somebody I looked up to, because at that stage, 88, 89, 1988, 1989, he was, the gun.
Dominating the world, the Shark. It's just, isn't it a shame he didn't get a Masters and we can watch him every year, because he'd be still playing, I would say, that tournament. So that's what because I'm 35, I got the sort of back end of his career, and 96 still hurts a little bit, but to know that Patrick Reed is going back every year, and I can't see the Shark play every year. It's it kills me, but he's definitely someone I looked up to, and with Tiger as well. But
the thing about the crazy thing about golf, and it's the beauty about golf, is it isn't necessarily the person who deserves to win wins on certain weeks. It just doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And from the viewer point of view, personality is huge, and it's good for the game that there is some villains out there, so to speak. I think it's good for the game. It keeps it interesting and emotional, which I think is good.
Yeah, it's quite funny when you say that, because I get asked by my mates who watch golf, and they say, who's the guy you don't like? Who's the guy you don't want to play with? Who's the guy you want to play with? And I tell them, and they go, oh, I thought he was a good guy. Or, oh, geez, I thought he was really bad. And it's funny, the perspective of the viewer looking in, and then us guys actually working and knowing what those guys are actually like. And the general golf fan wouldn't have a clue what a lot of these guys are like.
Yeah, you're right. The media has a play in all this, don't they? They like to segregate things and put people against people. So I know there's a friend of mine that went to the President's Cup recently in Australia when I was down there. And I know Bryson DeChambeau had a little bit of a interesting name, and some not so good things were said about Bryson before that. But when he actually saw him, and he was there for the longest, signing autographs for kids, really interactive. And he said it was a really eye-opener to see the difference between what he perceived, him to be as a person based on the media, and what he actually is as a person.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing about Bryson was I played with him once. I played with him at the Dubai Desert Classic. And ever since that time, every time I see him, he remembers my name, he says hello, and he's extremely polite. And yet people have been absolutely pasting him, saying that he's this, he's that, and whatever. It's just, like I said, what the people sitting there behind the desk on the golf things and whatever they say, people sort of sticks with them until you meet the person. Yeah. But I've always heard that saying too. You don't want to ever meet your heroes, because it seems to be always disappointing.
That's right. Exactly. Now, I was going to talk about Bryson a little bit later, but we've brought him up now, so let's talk about now. I mean, you're a prolific hitter of the ball, and you're known for that. You led the stat. Actually, you mentioned 2004 and 5 when you're in the US. You actually led the long distance stat. Ahead of John Daly, Tiger Woods. So, I mean, you're a big hitter of the ball.
Yeah, well, from what I watched I watched Colonial last week. I didn't watch much of today because I was too busy doing stuff. But if you watch him hit a ball, it's like the long drivers. His left side clears out so quick. His left foot's turning, and okay, you know what? These long drive guys only have a really short career. I've played golf with the long drive guys, and I mean, let's face it, they hit the ball long for a reason. They work out in the gym with specific muscles. They get paid to do it. There's prize money in that. For DeChambeau to be doing what he's doing, it may work, but I'll tell you, if he's a little bit off, it's going to be off the planet.
And it's not sustainable, is it? I mean, over 10, 15 years, is it sustainable?
I wouldn't think so. I personally wouldn't think so. But then again, the way the modern day prize money is, the way the tournaments are. If he has, well, he's going to have 5 good years, he can retire forever. That's just the way it goes. There's no longer guys who want to have a 20-year career. They're quite happy to play for 5 to 7 years and they're done.
I do feel he's good enough to win majors. I feel like he's got a few majors in him.
Like I said, he's smashing it out there, but it still comes down to a game of finesse. You still got to have the control. You still got to be able to putt the ball. And the other reason why, if you look at the body shapes over the years of guys going into golf, now there's taller, stronger guys that are more scientifically matched up in their swings and their workouts and stuff. So they're getting more and more out of their golf. The TrackMan, all this sort of stuff is adding to guys getting a bit more of this, bit more of this, bit more of this, bit more of this, they're hitting it longer. The big improvement in golf, in my opinion, was the invention of the hybrid clubs. So guys that couldn't hit 6, 5, 4, 3, and 2 irons and the 1 iron, now they're back in the game. And that's why all these guys now that aren't great ball strikers can still get it around, because they're 220 yards out. They pull out their hybrid, pop it on the green. They're such good putters, bang, it's in.
That's right.
That's where I think the game's really improved more. Not so much the driver technology. Maybe the ball technology. The ball doesn't move around as much, but the advent of the hybrid clubs has really made the game more playable for guys at the high level as well.
Yeah, if you look at the stats too, the strokes gained stats, most of the guys that do really well are from the 150 to 175 yards. So the longer club, if you get better at hitting the longer club closer, your rounds are going to be better, aren't they, overall?
Yep. Well, now you just get the hybrid, you just bring it in high, down a soft, bang, there it is. Before you hit 4 iron coming in, if you weren't strong enough to get the nice crisp blow on the ball and hit it high, like the Shark used to hit just big, high, peeling long irons. It was unbelievable. Tiger did the same when Tiger came out. Now everyone can do it because there's no skill left in it anymore.
Yeah, and the effortlessness that you sort of seem to have with your power, did you work on your power, or was it just natural, your length?
I've just been lucky enough. I've been lucky enough to be quite flexible. I guess I call it fast twitch muscle fibers. And I've always been able to just get through the ball quite nicely and had pretty decent hand-eye coordination.
Right, so literally you didn't work on it at all. It was just all natural.
When I was taught to play golf, it was there's the ball, smash it. There's none of this tree-line golf courses. Like there's a fairways, there's the trees. Try and get it between those trees as hard as you can.
Yeah.
I came from a cricket, baseball background, played badminton and all that sort of stuff. So trying to hit the ball just came naturally. I started off hitting a big 50-yard slice because you're always trying to smash it so hard. But, you can't teach someone to hit the ball long. It's got to be there. And it's nice to try and teach a junior at the start to just go out there and have no inhibitions and just go for it and then reel them in.
Yeah, and the hand-eye coordination is huge because if you don't hit the middle, you're wasting your energy, aren't you?
Oh, especially when we used to use wooden woods.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. So
I'm so old. I use the wooden wood. I mean, that's there you go.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it all helps when these 400cc comes out, doesn't it?
Oh, it looks like a bloody Coke can on the end of the stick.
Yeah, I was using just a wooden 3-wood actually a couple of weeks ago playing locally here in Melbourne. And I had so much fun with it. I mean, it was actually a lot of fun. To keep it on the plane.
I saw Jimmy Walker last week at Colonial decided to go back to steel shafted his driver in his bag, and they were showing his stats. It was a very bad decision. Just stay with the graphite.
That's right. Well, the wooden 3-wood had a steel shaft in it too, so I was struggling to keep it straight. But geez, it was good fun.
Well, it's a different feeling though. I mean, if you can get the old golf ball and go out there and use an old golf ball, like an old Pro Trajectory or an old Pro V,
Bellata,
or old Royal Maxfly or something, and just go and hit it, and you're just like, man, this would have been awesome back in the day. You get the old fighter jet flight. Starts off low, rise up, and then just pop down. And now guys are just launching it at 15 degrees and watching it fly with 2100 RPM spin rate and flying 330 through the air.
That's right. I remember the Shark hit it that hard and that high with that much spin that used to draw back 30 feet, 40 feet every time you hit a green.
It was awesome. I remember the back in the day when I had to go buy, I was looking in the newspaper when I was in Melbourne, and I said to my dad, I've got to go buy this, I've got to go buy this. He says, what is it? I said, it's $300. Can you lend me $300? It was a set of Tour Edition irons, a red Tour Edition golf bag, and it was 2 dozen Tour Edition golf balls. And I got them. And then a mate and I managed to get out to have a game at Yarra Yarra Golf Club in Melbourne, and we were playing around there. And I was just, every club I was trying to hit one club more and just rip it with the Tour Editions off the greens there. It was awesome. It didn't matter how close it went. As long as it spun 25 feet, it was an awesome shot.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. When you played locally with your local members and you spun it back 20 feet, they loved it.
Spin it back 20 feet, 3-putt it, walk the next go. Oh, that was an awesome shot.
Yeah. Actually, it's flooding back the memories of that. The ball's got so much better that, you forget that you had to control that spin. It's almost,
Yep. And then if you play a short par 4, you hit a wedge in there, you go to the next hole, you've hit it in with your Tom Watson tour grind wedge, you look at the ball, it looks like someone's got a razor blade out and just cut it down the side of the ball. You tee it up on the next hole, you just hear it going.
That's right. And that's the skill we're talking about, isn't it? The ability to control your spin and all that sort of thing. So are you a proponent of sort of bringing the ball back a little bit to increase the spin, or do you think it's just whoever's good now is going to be good?
I've been asked that question umpteen dozen times, and I still think the solution is rough that's an inch and a half long, where the ball sort of just sits in it and just sits above it. Greens that are firmed up, and the problem is the shot in. So if a guy misses a fairway and he's in that rough, don't need deep rough. You just need that rough where it's unpredictable, where a guy pulls a 9-iron out and it can go 180 meters or it can go 100 meters, depending on the reaction out of the rough. That's what makes the golf so difficult. I mean, if you hit it in long rough, you're just gouging it out anyway. I think the ball should stay the same. I think the driver technology is always going to change because people need to make money. Companies make money. There's shareholders. They want technology to go forward.
Yeah, for sure. You've spent most of your time since the mid 2000s in Asia and Europe. Your game seems to be built more for the US. I mean, based on your long hitting, you got nice hands. So was that by design, or do you think you've still got wants to sort of head over and be where you live and play on PGA Tour, or how did that? Why have you spent so much time over there?
I went the other direction that most guys do. I went east of Australia when I turned pro. I went to Canadian Tour. I thought, if I want to try and play in the US, I've got to go try and play the Canadian Tour, get used to the grass. So instead of going to Europe and playing on Poana greens and then crappy weather and in the cold, I came over to the North American side, played all these courses, and then got my card here. And, I managed to get my card. It wasn't my first attempt at the Q school. It was my first attempt at the final stage of Q school. And then I made a few mistakes while I had my card. I didn't get to keep it like a solid exempt player. I had to go back to Q school and get it again. And then I had to go back to Q school again. And then I had it wrapped up until the last 9 holes of the 6th round. And then I think I had something stupid like 40 odd on the back 9 of the last round of Q school and just missed my card. So, I mean, I thought I wanted to be here. I wanted to play here. So that's how we mapped it all out to go and do that.
And then obviously you're talking about 2006 where you've just missed your card. Is that 2006?
Yeah. And then, I got injured in 2006. I got injured. So then I lost my status. I had nationwide web.com status. I had a little bit of PGA Tour status. Got injured. Couldn't play the rest of the season out. I was playing shotgun. My kids were on the way. I had a few medical issues. I got diagnosed as, apparently I was ADD or ADHD,
right?
Whatever it was, I don't know. They put me on medication and it totally messed me up.
Wow!
It took me about 5 months to try and get that sorted, and then went to another doctor and he said, "No, that's all bull crap, mate. You don't need that stuff."
Yeah, that's like attention deficit. Oh, they reckon you had attention problems or something.
Yeah, and then so I was like, shit, that that was a bit of a blur. And then I
Yeah.
finally got over the injury. My kids came along in December 2006,
Mm-hmm.
and I decided I'd have a crack at Q School in December of 2006. Went over there, and a lot of the guys I knew were over there.
Mm-hmm.
Had no status anywhere. Went there, got my Asian tour card, and from then on, it's been off we go.
Mm.
Until I still had the operation on my thyroid, which was another issue. But these things in life just come along to test us out, mate. We all make mistakes. We all have these things, these trivial things. And unfortunately for me, I took some advice from a doctor, started taking this medication, and it just totally, properly zoned me out. I just wasn't there at all for a lot of months, and it didn't do anything for me.
Yeah, sorry to hear that, mate. Unfortunately, I'm going through an issue now with my grandmother, and there's a surgeon that decided to work on her back because she had back complaint. 2 surgeries at 83. Turns out she had cancer. So waste of time. And look, I'm not bagging the medical profession. There's a lot of great people, but it's definitely worth getting second, third opinions on different things for sure.
Yeah. And obviously I should have done that, but I didn't at the time, and we thought that was...
Well, you trust them, don't you?
Yeah, well, what can you do? I'm a golf pro. I'm nothing else.
That's right. So let's just touch on your PGA Tour there for 2 years. You had a couple of top 10s or a couple of top 15s. What was that experience like coming from Australia?
That's great. I had a nightmare of a start. I went out and I think I missed the first 7 cuts in a row or 8 cuts in a row, and then went to Doral, got an invite into Doral, played all right. And I think that got me into the Bell South Classic, and I actually had a chance to win the Bell South Classic where Zach Johnson ended up winning and Mark Hensby finished in front of me as well, and I finished third. But both those guys on the last hole nearly hit it in the water, and if they both hit it in the water, I would have won the tournament. I was so close to hitting in the water in the last hole, and I was like, but you know what? I can't complain because I finished third. I picked up $306,000 and I was like,
huge.
This is what it's all about.
This
is an awesome week, and from then on.
So you said you missed the first 7 cuts. Was that a little bit of intimidation? Was it all new to you, new courses, new environment? What do you can you put your finger on that? It's a long time ago.
I just think I won't say young. I was a middle-aged golfer because I was 30. I'd come from playing the Australian Tour and Canadian Tour. I think unlike the guys that come out of college, I wasn't mentally prepared for the, let's just say, bullshit of the PGA Tour, because that's what it is. It's just a big confetti show. It's just all lights and mirrors, smoke and mirrors, because all it is really, it's just golf tournaments. There's a lot more people around there. The guys come out of college already prepared for it. You've got to think, be a bit more selfish. You got to just think there's only you out there. I wasn't brought up like that, so I struggled in that area to really think about just being totally selfish, and I think that did sort of hurt me in a way, because I just let a lot of outside things get to me. But that's just inexperience.
Go into that a little bit further. Is it like dog eat dog? Is it literally just no one gives a shit about you? You're over there and you're sort of alone feeling. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I felt like it was a really fake place.
Okay. Yeah.
Because people, they're saying one thing, but it seems like they're thinking another thing, and I would say something, and people get really shitty with me because there's no filter. I'm going to tell you what I think, and they don't like it. So you say something, and they're like, well, you can't really say that. And I'm like, why not? It's true. So it's a totally different attitude coming from Australia, where most guys, we say whatever we say, and then that's just the way it is.
So they were taken aback by the big Aussie coming in and saying what he wanted to say.
I'm not going to, like, guys are having a go at me. Oh, you're wearing spikes, and tell them to piss off.
Yeah. Okay.
Just little things, guys niggling about stuff instead of you just sitting there going like, oh yes, well, yeah, I got spikes and I probably shouldn't. I'm like, no, mate, bad luck.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because I know Elkington had the same issue, didn't he, Steve? Where I think he pulled out a few tournaments because the course wouldn't let him use spikes.
Yeah, it got to that stage. At one stage with spike, it was the soft spike brigade came in, and the spikes, I think it was one of the best brainwashing things ever. That spikes are bad for the golf course. They're not bad for the golf course. Soft spikes are what's bad for the golf course. That's what's bad.
So so you've had to change now, or do you still wear where you can?
In Japan, they still have a rule in some tournaments you can't wear spikes. Look, I'm not one to wear spikes in the clubhouse anyway. I'll take even when I was at the golf club, I'd take my shoes off to walk into the spikes bar, or I'd go to the car, change my shoes, come back in with proper shoes on. I mean, I know there's a few guys on the European tour that still wear spikes on marble floors or wooden floors, but they're of an older ilk, and I don't really get on with those people.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, do you work with a golf coach still, or did you ever work with a golf coach when you were younger? Talk about your development.
I worked with Charlie Earp for a fair while when I was in Brisbane, and I worked with Chris Chaplin, who's still in Brisbane, and from then on, just do it myself. I mean, coming through the PGA system and playing golf for long enough to sort of know what my weaknesses are and know what I've got to work on. That's just how I try to survive. I don't try and change anything. I just try and work on my weaknesses and then improve my strengths. That's all I do.
So you're able to understand your own game and your own mental about how to prepare for a tournament, and that's how you sort of roll.
I think mentally I probably should. I probably should work with someone mentally, but I don't because it's just the way I am. But swing wise, I pretty much got it down in my. I know myself. I've got 3 keys that I've got to work on, and that's pretty much how I look at it.
Did a coach help you with that, or did you figure that out yourself?
I've just figured that. It's just been my traits. It's just been my faults over the years. That it always seems to be the same thing. Whenever I get my wife or TC to stand on the range and film a few swings, I go same fault again. Just same fault again. It's just one of those things where I always fall into the same fault.
And what's the fault? What's the fault in your swing?
Well, usually posture. Your posture's bad, or posture, alignment, and then just the rhythm. So if the rhythm's out, sometimes you're a little bit quicker. You're just pulling it on the inside, or your posture, your knees are too bent. You're slouching over the ball. You get steep on it. Just really simple things like that. And you'll hear Adam Scott talk about a lot. He works on posture a lot in his swing, and then there's a couple other guys. It's just the really small things when you've been playing for a long time that you just got to keep an eye on.
Yeah. Do you like moving the ball in tournaments to flags, or do you have a stock shot? Do you like to sort of to play with, or is it depending on how you warm up every day?
It depends on the morning.
Yeah.
I mean, you're out there on the range, and it's all, the greats have always said, I've always heard the greats talking about it. I arrived at the golf course, I've been practicing for weeks. I got on the range that morning, I was teeing off in 40 minutes. I'm hitting the 2-yard fade. Well, you're not going to get on the first hole of a day and sit there and aim for a draw when you hit the 2-yard fade on the fairway. Play with what you got on the day and then go and work on it. There's no point getting on the course and fighting what you got. You've got to try and use what you got to your advantage. And then if it's a tight pin, don't have big ego. Just play away from the pin. You might hole a 20-footer.
Well, it's worked for you. 18 career wins so far. And in your experience in those sort of wins that you've had, is there one way to win a golf tournament, or is there a theme, or is there a new story every time you have a win?
There's plenty. That's a great thing. There's plenty of ways to win a tournament. We're not all Tiger Woods who could run away for 12-shot win, in major championships. Sometimes you're 4 shots behind, you shoot 65 and that guy shoots 72 and you win. Sometimes you're 1 shot ahead and you're out there through 9 holes, everybody's catching you, and then you finally catch on fire and you end up winning by 2 or 3 shots. Sometimes you're in a playoff. Sometimes someone's already got it in the house. You got 4 holes to play. You're trying to make a birdie. You par the last 4 holes. You're in a playoff. It's so exciting, and for me, I find it thrilling, and it's what I love. And I get a real high out of it all the time. I like the adrenaline. I like the excitement of that sort of happening. I don't like losing playoffs. So when I won the playoff when TC and I went to the playoff in Malaysia, I said, look, I've got to win this one because I've just lost the last 2 playoffs I've been in. So 3rd time lucky. That's how I looked at it. I try to look at it positive that way. And we ended up winning that playoff.
Yeah. You're talking about the Amiga, wasn't it? The European Masters.
Yeah. 2 years in a row, I lost the playoff there.
Yeah. And how did you feel like there was a bit of luck, or was it just how did you deal with the pressure? Could you have dealt with it differently in those two circumstances, or was it just golf?
Not with Alex. When Alex beat me the first time, he rolled in like a 25, 30 footer for birdie. The second time when I was in the playoff with Matt Fitzpatrick, you know, I should have won it. I misread a putt. I hit the putt exactly. I stroked the ball exactly where I wanted to. The putt went right to left. I thought it was a quarter cup left to right. I played with Marcus Fraser in the last round, and I thought I saw him putt from the same spot, but he was actually on the clock. He was putting from about 9 o'clock, and I was putting from about 11. So my angle was slightly different, and I thought the ball went left to right, but it was just a little ridge where the hole was, and I just totally misread it, and I fell into the trap that I watched a playing partner hit it in real time, and I messed up.
Well, that was the first playoff hole, wasn't it? You're talking about that you had the putt to win.
Yeah.
And so coming back from that, and coming back from those defeats in playoffs, and where you felt like you probably should have won, how do you deal with that in the aftermath, like straight after the tournament? Do you berate yourself? Do you have a drink?
No, I was gutted. I was absolutely gutted. And then that same year, I was even more gutted when I didn't get the pick for the President's Cup team. And I spoke to Jason Day, Mark Leishman, and Adam Scott, and those boys thought I probably should have got a pick for the President's Cup team that year as well. And I didn't get in the President's Cup team, so I was pretty gutted. It took me a fair while to get over all that stuff.
So that was 2016, wasn't it? That was, you won the Order of Merit in Asia. And did you, I think, was it Price that was the captain?
Yeah, Nicky. I spoke to Nick Price at the Bridgestone Invitational at Firestone, and he actually said to me, you know, I've got a couple of guys I want to pick. You're one of them. If you play well enough, I'd love to pick you. So head to head with those two guys, I hands down played better than them for the time he was looking at. And then he came back to me and he said, I've gone for two guys with a bit more experience than you. And I sat there and went, well, what can you say? I mean, the international captain says he's gone for guys with a bit more experience than you. And I mean, what more experience do you need? That's all I was thinking. But you know what? The captain's a captain. The captain's got to make a hard choice.
Who was the two guys?
Aniban Lahiri and Emilio Grillo.
Grillo, I mean, how's he got more experience than you?
I don't know. I think you can look at it a bit more like this.
Maybe he just talks shit. Maybe he was...
Well, yeah, but the thing is, the international team is not going to win a President's Cup when it comes down to pressure of TV ratings and picking someone from a country to get TV ratings.
Right.
Not to say that either one of them didn't deserve to be picked, but what I'm saying is you cannot beat America if you're purely picking teams for TV ratings.
Yeah,
simple as that.
I know what you're saying. I've seen some picks in the past. I mean, even Tiger's picked himself. You, as a coach, you know, like as a captain, you know that's just has to happen, don't you? I mean, for the TV rights. I mean, he played well, clearly, and he's one of the best of all time. But he, as a captain, you'd understand if he didn't pick himself.
Yeah, well, he's a guy that I've wanted the team all the time because he's a guy that, I mean, people say they're not afraid of him anymore. But you can't tell me you're standing on the first tee, teeing up against Tiger Woods that you're not sort of
intimidated.
There's not a little bit of squeeze coming out the back. It's got to be.
Have you had the chance to play with him or in practice rounds? Or
I haven't. I have not. I know him because a friend of mine went to school with him.
Oh, yeah.
And I know him to talk to him and whatever. But I've never played well enough to be able to play with him because when he was absolutely just killing us all. If you weren't in the last four groups on a weekend, you didn't get to play with Tiger anyway. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. So is 2004 and 5 when you're over there? How many you played some tournaments with him? Was it just a What was it like when were you around him in the same side of the draw and the crowds?
Yeah,
Was it just a different experience?
yeah. It's just like everyone says, you can tell a tiger cheer.
Mm,
The tiger roar on the golf course, or when you're on the
mm,
putting green and the tiger's having a putt. Well, if there's 1,000 people around the green, you know that 990 of them are watching Tiger. I mean,
mm,
there's got to be 10 other people that are friends and relatives of the other players.
mm.
So everyone's watching Tiger anyway, and you just see, you putt into a hole, and he was always just in his zone doing thing. But that was Tiger version 1. Tiger version 2 now seems to be more of a warm sort of guy. Says hello to people.
Mm.
Okay, he's quite focused, but he's just seems like a different person when he's at the golf course until he gets on the course.
Yeah, for sure. He's a killer, isn't he, out there? Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, well, based on your stats and your career thus far, you I almost feel like you're in your prime. Would you feel that or?
Well, if we're talking about wine drinking, I think I'm getting close. I don't know about the golf. I mean, the golf, you know, I see myself playing golf until I'm in my 70s, I hope. So, yeah,
Mm.
well, if you look at it that way, yeah, maybe I'm just sort of approaching the second third of my career.
Yeah. Well, 2016 Order of Merit winner. You started winning European Tour events. 14, 15, 16, 17. But the last couple of years been a little bit slower. What do you put that down to?
Just clubs. I I tried to change clubs because I thought I had a set that was worn out, and I had the wrong shafts in the new set of clubs, and just there's all varying factors, just changing of caddies. Then my caddy came back, and then all the little things add up to a big thing.
Yeah.
You know, if if you mess around with a proven formula that wins, it's the same as if you look at an AFL. If a team's got a formula that wins, they start messing around with it, they end up losing. You got to go back to what works and then just try to refine what works.
Yeah, I noticed that when I talk to a lot of tour players, they do mention that when they try to improve, they do tend to go backwards or things don't seem to work out. So it's a bit of a human nature thing, isn't it? When I won an Order of Merit, I'm winning tournaments, I want to get better, and it's just a human nature thing to want to get better. So how do I do this? I need to change my caddy. I might have to change my swing at a certain point. And as you said, sometimes that can have a negative effect on your game.
Yeah, well, also I had a bit of a bulging disc in my back. I did that. I flew from, and what I flew from Qatar to play New Zealand Open, and I lost my clubs, and I went down to the golf club and I grabbed a couple of guys' clubs, and I was hitting balls in the range, and I felt my back tweak,
Mm,
and then I ended up getting MRI. I had to have 5 weeks off.
mm,
So then after that happened, my driver broke, so the head cracked in my driver. So it was just a continuation of just, like I said,
mm,
20 odd years of playing golf is a long time, but
mm-hmm,
if you break it down to where things go wrong, it's only a small piece of the 20 years. But
mm,
people look at it as like, geez, you're having a bad year this year, you're having a bad 6 months.
mm,
Well, you might think that, but when I look at it, how long a stretch I've been playing golf for, it's only a little slither of what's going on. You've
that's
got to
right.
look at it in that way, and things are going to improve because TC and I worked so hard to try and get the Maybank Malaysian Championship win. We
Mm,
just worked and practiced, and that's what it comes down to, mate. And if you're not a fighter and you give up easy, like I
mm,
said, if you don't like travel and you get homesick and you don't want to fight for it, just go and get a job doing something else, because
mm.
you're not going to be a golf pro. You're not going to be a professional athlete. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, you got to have that grind, don't you?
You got to love being out there by yourself for five,
Mm,
6 hours on the range in the heat, hitting balls. You got to find something that you enjoy about that. I mean,
mm,
I've always say that I had the goldfish mindset. You try not to scar up. You go around the bowl once, you forget what's happened there, and then you just start again.
mm. The TC's your caddy. You mentioned long-term caddy. Did you mention you had a little break from him and he came back? Is that right?
Yeah, we had about 11 months break. He went and caddy for Sam Brazel for a little bit,
Okay.
and then he came back, and I asked him to come back about 11 months after we separated.
Yeah.
And we said, let's start with a clean slate. The difficulty with a player-caddy relationship is you nearly spend more time with your caddy than you do with your family.
Mm, mm,
So you can imagine the dynamics of like a husband-wife relationship.
mm, mm.
You get on each other's nerves. You're there all the time with each other. It's just going to happen. So sometimes you just need a little bit of a break in the workplace, and then start it all off again. Go, look, listen, whatever we said before, we're just going to clean the slate, say it didn't happen. Let's just start again. We're good mates. We know what's going on. We know how to do this. So let's just get on with it. And that's
Yeah,
just
yeah. So yeah, that's a good point, isn't it? Where you just feel like you need a bit of a fresh start. But did you realize that the grass wasn't greener and you had a good thing with TC on the bag?
I don't think it was a matter of the grass was green on the other side. There's nothing to do with that. It's just got to a point where we had so much time together, and I play a lot of golf. So, and he's married as well. So he's got a wife that wants to see him. I mean, my wife, she comes out to the tournaments and brings the kids with her. So I get to see them. But if you can't always bring your spouse to the tournaments and you're away traveling everywhere, I mean, it's not a luxurious life for a caddy by any means, or a player if he's playing bad. So sometimes the bit of stress goes along with things, and you just need a break. You need to see something different, and then you get back together, and bang, you're off again. That's just the way it goes in this sport.
How important is a good caddy?
Oh, it's extremely important. You need someone who's going to stand up and actually say something. You don't want a yes man. You want someone who's going to be honest. And that's what I see. That's why TC and I get on quite well, because, we tell each other how it is. It's black and white. There's no grey area. And that's what we appreciate about each other. And that's why we get on really well and do the job properly. Because you don't need any bullshit. Because if someone just wants to feather you with, just blow smoke up your backside, then it's not going to work. I'm not that personality. I don't appreciate that sort of stuff, and neither does he. So that's why it works.
And you touched on the Maybank that you worked so hard for, that tournament. Is that your sort of proudest win? Is that the biggest tournament you've won, you feel?
Oh, it's the biggest tournament I won, but the biggest tournament I thought I've won is the Queensland Open. To win the State Open is the one that I'm really proud of, is to win my State Open. And then the next one I'm proud of is the Hong Kong Open. And then obviously the Maybank is a very big tournament to win as well. But the Queensland Open and the Hong Kong Open are the two tournaments that really stick with me for forever.
Yeah. And Maybank, what did you do well in that week that got you over the line?
Oh, I just drove it well. Started to drive it well, and then all of a sudden, I was 3, 4, 5 under, and I wasn't holding any putts. And then come the weekend, I started just holding a few putts, and then come out Sunday, it just happened. I was 5 under through 9 holes. I think I made up all the shots on the leader, and then it was an interesting finish to the tournament with the storm delay and then the playoff, and then him holding a 1,000,000-foot putt to get into a playoff, and then it was just very exciting, I'm like I say, I'm speechless about it, because it was just one of those things where we just worked. I hit so many balls. I just lost my last 2 playoffs that I've been in. It was my third one, so I sort of took the adage of third time lucky. You got to try and pull the positives out of it.
Yeah, for sure. And have you changed in the way you approach the back nine of a Sunday if you're in contention from when you first started out to after all these wins? What have you sort of gauged and learnt out of yourself, and how to perform at your best when the pressure's at its highest?
I depend a lot on TC in that way, because sometimes, depending on the mood of the day, if you look at the leaderboard, you can get into a false sense of either security or a false sense of wanting to chase too hard. So I depend on TC, and when I'm just playing, he tries to find out what's going on, looks around, and then goes, okay, we've got to go at this pin. Now, when I hear him saying we've got to go at this pin when it's a tight pin, I know that we've got to try and chase someone down, because if the pin's cut, say 4 on 4 from the right, and we're on the 14th hole, and he's going, mate, just play 20 feet left of it, then I know we're either in front or we're right there. There's no need to go at it. So I just gauge what he says in that way.
So you're not a leaderboard watcher?
I do watch leaderboards for sure.
Yeah.
But when it comes to putting the foot on the accelerator to try and go at it, I depend on him to say it to me.
And he knows your game so well, and what skill level you have, and what you're doing for that week and that day. It's so important.
Well, I've always said I'm the type of person that wants to try and bludgeon a golf course to death. He's a tactical golfer. He's a very tactical player. He plays spot to spot, whereas I just try and smash it, go find it.
Yeah. So it's a good mix.
Yeah. So we can both meet somewhere in the middle, and it's usually a good way to go.
Yeah, nice. Sounds good, man. Congratulations on the win, by the way. That's awesome.
Thanks.
I want to do a little, just to finish, I want to do like then and now a little bit.
Yep.
Because you've spent 23 years of your career. So you've gone through a lot of stuff. So I'm interested in how the following's changed in your mind. So your golf game, how's it changed from when you first started your first year to now? How would you gauge your golf game? How would you describe the difference?
It's a bit more measured and a little less temperamental. my temperament has got much better, and the golf has settled down a lot.
So would you ruin golf tournaments back in the day? Would you literally let yourself?
Yeah. I'd come out and I'd be in. I mean, that's what I do. Sometimes I used to do those things headless with Hendy, because a lot of the guys I know that I was just like a beaner, just lose the bean. I'd come out and 3-putt the first hole of a golf tournament and think that the tournament's over. This is it. I'm done.
Right.
So
you used to depend on a hot start to do pretty well. Now you're pretty good.
Yeah, but now I'm like, I bogey the first 3 of the first 4 holes, and that's just the way golf is. I might be able to birdie the next 4 coming out.
Yeah, cool. All right. Preparation for a golf tournament. How's that changed for you?
The week of?
Yeah, the week of. Yeah.
My preparation when I'm at the golf course is the same when I'm on the practice fairway here. I try to practice here how I warm up. So if I go to the golf course and practice here, there's not every day I'll sit down and hit 200, 300, 400 golf balls. I might go down and hit 2 bags of balls, go and chip, go and putt, just like I'm going to go to the tee.
Okay.
When I'm at the tournament week, do the same thing as try and do my little 45-minute warm-up thing before I play. So I just do sort of things like that. I'm not the sort of guy that says, I've got to hit 10 wedges, I've got to hit 4 4-irons, I've got to hit.
Yeah.
I don't do that. I just get out there and swing a club, hit it, and go up there. I might hit 1 driver. If it comes off good, that'll do. I might hit 20 drivers. There's no set number of balls to hit.
Did you change that from when you first started, or was that similar how you did it back then?
It's just how I did it. Because when I started playing, we played Troppo. Sometimes we only had 10 practice balls.
Yeah, that's right.
Playing Pro-Ams.
That's right. I only had nets sometimes.
Hit 10 balls, off we go.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and you're right. And golf's so fickle that way. I mean, sometimes I spoke to another guy, Daniel Pearce. He won the Queensland PGA Championship a couple of years back, and I asked him about his preparation for the days, and he said he just hit a few in the net on the Thursday. I think he shot like 6 or 7 under. So he just did the same thing the next day because he's like, well, I'm not changing that. So he did a few more in the net.
Well,
and
I'll tell you,
the whole week he didn't go to the range.
Well, the funny thing is, I'll tell you, what happens when you're on the way to the golf course and the traffic's bad and you get held up in the traffic. What do? I mean, if you're the sort of guy that sits there and goes, okay, I've got to practice for 45 minutes before I tee off. Well, what happens if you can't?
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to be prepared for that mentally and physically. Go, okay, I can hit 10 balls and go.
Mm-hmm.
I can practice for 45 minutes, or I can go on the putting green, do a few stretches and tee off. Sometimes it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. So you need to adjust your warm-up procedures and your practice in that way, in my opinion.
Yeah. And we'll talk about theme and your wins. Was there a theme mentally going into that week for your wins, or is it literally not quite like that?
well, sometimes just don't blow up. You know, just try and be happy.
Yeah.
I mean, even when you're not playing a golf tournament in the 7 days of the week, try and be happy every single day. For me, it's a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I
So it's
mean,
a sense of.
Here's my wife laughing at me. There you go.
so is there a sense of calmness about the week? Is there, or a happiness in your life?
I don't know about that. I mean, I always feel calm when I don't feel nervous and I don't feel a bit of adrenaline. Then I get worried. Some weeks I show up and we're walking the first test. I feel a bit nervous. He goes, "Awesome, that's good. That's what I want to hear." Because then it means it seems like it's easy for you to get into the mindset of properly concentrating and getting on with the job. When you don't feel nervous and you feel really calm, you seem to just wander off everywhere and your mind wanders and you're not thinking about what you're doing and you don't seem to focus properly. So it's nice to be a little bit nervous, and it means you still care about the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, then and now, still on this theme, talent on tour. How has that changed since when you first come out to now? Is there a lot more talent out there?
There's a lot of really. I think when you say talent on tour, I'll say that the talent has changed from being an older vintage player age to the guys now that are 21, 22, 20. They're when you say talent, I mean they're more prepared. There's always been talent, but having talent and being prepared to compete is the difference. They're much better equipped now and prepared to challenge for trophies, and they're not scared of anything now. So I call that talent.
Yeah, for sure. They're ready to win straight away. Whereas back in the day, it might have been intimidating for a few years to get to the point where you can win. Yeah,
that's what they used to say. They always used to go, "Oh, he's not in his prime until he's 32, 33." I mean, these guys are in their prime when they're 23.
There's that who's that Korean guy? I can't remember his name now on the PJ. You've got to look out for him. What's his name?
He's leading the FedEx Cup.
Oh, gee whiz!
I can't. You know what? I can't remember his name, but he's not afraid of anything either.
Not afraid of anything. Spieth, what he came out just went bang.
Spieth struggled. Spieth's ball, but the thing is, Spieth's putting when he came out and was winning everything, he'd just look at something under 30 feet and hole it.
And
his putting went off the boil a little bit. Yeah, that's starting to. I don't know what happened there, but it's starting to come back a little bit. But even he said the other day he just wants to get out there and enjoy the game a bit more and actually play golf instead of being so miserable.
Yeah, he's another character I like listening to. He's a really honest guy, and I learn a lot off listening to what he has to say about the game too. He's got a really old head on his young shoulders, hasn't he?
I'd like to see him mic'd up playing though, because he doesn't shut up. It's like a budgerigar. You look at him, he hits a shot, he just looks like he just keeps chirping to his caddy the whole time. I'd like to know what he's saying. I'd like him to put a mic on him and just for the whole round in the tournament.
Yeah, well, yeah, talk on that, because I feel like that's the new future of the game, isn't it, in telecast? I mean, I think the younger generation want to get more involved in what's happening out there.
Yeah, but the Golf Channel was doing that with the Canadian Tour back in 2002.
Wow.
They'd pick 3 players and would be mic'd up and go play. It's not a new thing. Obviously, technology's got better, and the players have to be more mindful now that the way sponsorship dollars are going and the way the tournaments are, you need to somehow progress into things like that and possibly put yourself out there 2 or 3 weeks a year and be mic'd up to play. That's just the way it's got to go.
Would you like doing that? Would you mind doing that?
It doesn't worry me at all. I could do it. It doesn't. It's like I said, the way the little mics and everything's much lighter now, and it's no big deal.
Yeah, and what else do you think could help enhance the game for new people coming to the game?
Sometimes when you watch the telecast, we know because we see it all the time. So a guy like he won the Memorial last year. Oh my goodness. Oh, anyway, the guy who won the Memorial last year, he'd stand there, and the TV would go bang. Okay, this is him right now. And I sat there and went, that's like a third of his pre-shot routine. They're cutting into where he's about to do it. All this other time, you scratch your head and you just go, if the TV actually showed him from the start to when he hits the ball, everyone would be sitting there going, just hit it. But that's where the rules were letting down. So if you were playing with him and you hit your shot within 30 seconds from the start to the finish, you had to sit on the side, cross your arms, and go through all that, and he wouldn't get fined or warned for being slow because you're fast. That's where the rules have let down the fast player. Now you can be timed at, there you can be put on the clock at any time in the round whether you're in position or out of position, because the slower players were taking advantage of the faster players. Now you have a time frame. You have to hit your shot, whether you're in position or out of position. So it's trying to make sure these guys speed up and do the right thing. I like what they used to do in Australia when the draw came out. The four slowest players were always in the last two groups. The fastest players were in the first groups. And they went, bad luck, mate. If you can't get finished, it's your fault for being slow. They should have a tournament one day where you get 15 seconds to hit every shot. That's it. 15 seconds. And I have a guy walking around with you and he goes, right, bang. If you don't hit within 15 seconds, you get done straight away. Like make it a little speed golf thing.
It's funny. A lot of players might get better and a lot of players might go the other way.
Some of the slow players actually get better because they don't think as much.
For sure. Absolutely. Rip and hit. I like your attitude, mate.
I don't, people say the game takes too long. I mean, I'm the sort of guy who likes test cricket. I think because it goes such a long time, it's a war of attrition and your mental toughness. I mean, 2020 is like playing the golf sixes. It's just to get out there, smash it, and have a bit of fun. When you're playing test match cricket, it's more of a skill and a mentality, a mental set that you have to try and win a 5-day match or a 4-round tournament. That's how I see it. So
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. You got to keep those traditions in place, absolutely. And I think the pro tracer and the numbers and I think if you can just mic up a few players every some of the marquee players, I don't think we can do much more to enhance. I think that would be pretty cool to watch in the living room.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I can see to bring more people back to golf or keep playing golf, there's two things. One, amateur dress code. Maybe they could loosen it up a little bit at some clubs. I'm not talking about wearing singlets and stubbies and thongs. I'm talking about, still dressed appropriately. But also the use of the broomstick putter, the longer putter, I think should be allowed in amateur golf, because we have these, the older guys, retired guys, or people that have sporting injuries, have bad backs and whatever. And they should have just, in my opinion, totally banned the long putter for professional golf and just left the amateur golf game alone. Off you go, guys. You do it for the enjoyment of the game.
Yeah. I'm a massive proponent and have been for a long time of having two different rules for amateurs and professional golf. I can't work out why they're the same. And that is a prime example, the long brooms. I mean, why would you inhabit someone who needs that to play the game and change that? For what reason? I just don't understand.
And then you've got another issue. Why would you make someone drop a ball at knee height yet not make a sand-filled divot GUR? I mean, sorry, but I mean, if you say drop the ball anywhere from hip height down to your knee, because some people can't get down to their knee, it's just plain and simple. Some people just, did I drop that at the right height? No, mate, that was 2 inches above your knee. And then you hit it into a sand-filled divot, or you hit it into a divot that hasn't been filled with sand. If you make them sand-filled divots as a free drop, it encourages everybody to look after the golf courses.
Yeah, 100%. I don't understand why you can't drop. You dropped it there for hundreds of years, and now you can't do that anymore. I don't understand the thinking behind it.
Well, the plain and simple. The reason they stopped from shoulder height was because guys like us, when we drop the ball, we drop it on a place to make sure it bounces forward. So now when you drop it from knee height, the ball won't bounce as far, roll as far, so you can't get as much relief as what you wanted.
Exactly. Well, another reason why you'd have two different rules, two different sets of rules. I mean, who cares? Saturday afternoon at Eastern Golf Club.
Yeah. Well, once you become a professional, you should know what your rules are anyway. Yeah. I would hope you do. I've come across a lot of guys that don't, but I would hope you do.
Okay. Golf course setups from then until now. Any much change in terms of the way the golf course is set up in golf tournaments, or is it just the length of the courses?
I think especially in Australia, the greens have got much softer.
Okay.
I mean, you think back when we played Victoria Golf Club at the Australian Open, and they called and Rich Beam was there, and they made the greens ridiculously hard and fast. From then in Australia, you play a tournament, all the greens are soft. They're not really hard. They're not super fast anymore. They got scared. You come over to America to play, in general, greens are all soft. It's like a dartboard, just throwing darts. Until you get to a US Open, and then they're firm. But most of the time, the greens are soft. Fairways are pretty soft. The rough is just oversown oversow grass. You just take a nice divot out of. I think the courses have got a little longer because some new courses have opened up, been designed to open up.
And what about the majors? You've played a few majors now. Unfortunately, I haven't played the Masters yet. Fingers crossed for you that you can still get into that, mate.
But, I doubt that as well. But anyway,
oh, mate, never know. What about the course setup when you went to the majors? Was that just a huge difference in the way they've set up the majors?
The US Open was interesting because the greens there were firmish and the rough was so. Unfortunately, the PGAs that I played, with the exception of Quail Hollow, even Quail Hollow rained. It absolutely tipped it down, and I thought the management of the golf tournament was less than satisfactory, shall we say, when they made us come back the next day to finish off. I missed a cut by a shot, but it'd been pouring down all night. We came back to play the last 4 holes, and there was worm husks all over the fairways. They didn't even decide to drag a hose up the fairways to get rid of the worm husks. And if you've ever seen worm husks on a golf course, it's not much fun on the fairway. All it is, the worms just push up all the mud, and your ball's sitting up against the mud and stuff, and you get the ball going all over the shop. And I went in and let the PGA of America know my thoughts.
They didn't have lift, clean, and replace?
Nope, because we're already in the middle of playing around. So we had 4 holes to go, and it's quite disappointing. I ended up missing the cut by a shot, but obviously I could have made a shot up somewhere else, not those last 4 holes. But it's just frustrating that we had to come back and put up with that sort of crap, where you think it's a major they'd be able to
do something. What year was that?
There's just that was in Justin Thomas one around Quail Hollow. Was that about 16?
Yeah. Okay.
Same year, yeah, because I just finished top 10 in the Firestone, and then I went to the PGA the following week and missed cut by a shot. Then went to the Olympics.
How was that?
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was absolutely awesome.
Yeah,
one
nice.
Of the experiences, the highlights of my life. Unbelievable.
Oh, and who was your teammate?
The one and only Marcus Fraser.
Nice, mate. Oh, that would have been a fun time. You've been playing golf together for a long time, haven't you?
Yeah. And Finchy was the captain. I mean, how good?
Finchy, yeah.
You can't get a better captain than Baker Finch.
Yeah, what a legend.
He's been there, done that. A wealth of knowledge. Great guy. It was an amazing week.
I think there's a lot of golf pros that have regretted not going. I think because at the time, I think there was a lot said about catching something, or what was happening? Zika virus, wasn't it? So yep. I got a feeling a lot of people have regretted it based on who went over and the stories coming back and how good it was and what a great experience it was.
Well, a lot of people worried about the Zika virus and they're worried about the security. And I sat there and went, security? Man, I went and played the Pakistan Open. You want to talk about security? I mean, Brazil was a walk in the park.
That's right. What was the course like over there? It was built for it, wasn't it?
It was a links style golf course that played really soft because it didn't have the time to mature.
Yeah.
So the design was okay, but if you let me share a little funny story with you about the volunteers we have for the golf tournament. So they've got a lot of kids from around the place. When I say kids, late teens to come and volunteer. So I'm playing with Patrick Reed. Okay, So Patrick and I are playing. I'm on the back nine. I think I'm like on the 13th or something like that. I drive my ball into a bunker, and we're walking up. I'm saying to the girl, "Where's my ball?" And she goes, "Oh, it's right here." So my ball's here, and she's got her feet in the bunker, standing a V shape on my golf ball, going, "Your ball's here," and she's like that far from my ball with her feet. I'm just sitting there going, look at my brother-in-law caddying for me. I'm looking at Patrick going like, and by that stage, I'm like, yeah. By that time in the tournament, I'm like, just give me a club.
What was she protecting it or making sure she didn't lose it?
Well, the thing is, we went to a country that doesn't have much knowledge about golf. So these are the things that happen. But it's all part of the experience. It's a story my brother-in-law always brings up. He goes, "I can't believe the look on your face when you looked in there. She's nearly standing on top of your golf ball in the bunker."
What a classic. So have they got the Olympics on this year?
Not now. It's supposed to be in July in Japan. All because of COVID.
So they've cancelled the Olympics, yeah.
So maybe next year, but the guys that were supposed to be in the team, obviously that's all going to change because, Lucas Herbert could end up forcing his way into the team the way he's been playing. You never know. It's just changes. Can change so quickly. Someone just has a run of 3 good tournaments and all of a sudden they're right there.
So did you golfers all sort of go out together and enjoy, the nightlife and enjoy the Olympics together, or all the teams, or they separated? Or
No, we went down to we stayed in a house off. We weren't in Australia House. We didn't stay in the team facilities. We had a house all together. So we went down a couple of nights and ate in the cafeteria with all the athletes, and we went over to look at the gym where all the weightlifters and sprinters and stuff were working out. And Fraser and I looked at each other and went, "No," we just kept walking. They put us to shame. And then, we went to a basketball game. We went and watched Australia play basketball. I got dressed up in the kangaroo suit that you see someone wearing every year. It was a little bit whiffy, but it was good fun. So, great experience.
Yeah, it would have been cool around all those elite athletes in different sports and seeing them display their talents.
Mm-hmm. It was great. The problem was that some of the stuff we wanted to go to, because of the extra security, we had to go to the village, go through security, then go to a bus, get on a bus, travel whatever it is, an hour and a half to the next event, get off the bus, go through security to get into the event. We're like, we're not going to do that. This is too hard. Too hard, because you're there to play golf. You're not there for spectating.
How did you play?
Pretty average. I think I finished in the 30s somewhere. I think I was in the 30s somewhere, and right. Fraser looked like he was in contention to possibly vie for a medal.
Yeah.
He shot a course record, and then I had a 10 on a hole, which was another record, I think. So I was going okay in the first round, then it started absolutely tipping down rain, and the Australian Olympic Committee, in their wisdom, gave us wet weather gear, which you wouldn't even put on your dog. They were so underprepared for what they gave us. They gave us an umbrella, and the umbrella was like the ones you see your grandmother walking around to the shopping centre that just covers her head for a golf umbrella.
Oh dear.
I mean, obviously it was the first year golf was back in, and they were so underprepared. It was a joke. And then the IOC said, no, you can't use your Titleist umbrella or your Callaway umbrella because it has marketing on it. So we're sitting there, I'm going to Finchy. What are we going to do? Yeah, it's just a nightmare.
Oh, cool experience, man. Thanks for sharing that. And I suppose the last thing I've got here between then and now was your attitude towards the game. And I think we touched on it a little bit before, but how do you think your attitude towards the game has changed? Has it enhanced? Do you love the game more, less?
I love it more and more every day. Gets to a point where I start thinking, when will I finish? Is the finish? We'll call it the finish line. The finish line is getting closer, which is a sad thing. Yet I want to try and run out strong to the finish line. And I
Mm.
love the game. I live to play golf, and that's how I'll always be.
Yeah, good. Well, keep playing, mate. I love watching you play. So keep winning those tournaments. Good luck for this year and the remaining of your career. I'll be watching closely. So really appreciate your time. I've enjoyed talking to you. And all the best to you.
No worries, but anytime. Give us a bell if you ever need anything. Just drop a line. No worries.
I'll take you up on that. We'll talk again soon, and I hope we can catch up and have a beer one day.
All right, buddy. See you, mate.
Thanks, mate.